In the SW Corporation's men's locker room, Jin is getting suited up in the company's dress code. Seokju asks how Jin ended up landing a job with SW Corporation. The scene transitions to the past, where Jin is reviewing the records of all the security personnel working for SW Corporation. The old man had told him to spend a few days with the team and share his thoughts since arrangements had been made to accommodate him. It should be fairly easy for Jin to get a sense of the program. Back in the present, Jin tells Seokju that he simply wanted to experience what being in the security team is like, so ended up here with a job. Seokju wonders if that means Jin wants to be a bodyguard. Jin then asks if Seokju isn't joining the training. In response, Seokju explains that today's session is for Team 2, and he is part of Team 3. He adds that Team 3 escorts Yona exclusively, while Team 2 escorts Ms. Jie and her parents. The scene transitions to a training hall where all the personnel are sitting on the ground. One of the instructors introduces Jin to everyone, explaining that Jin will be joining them for the next few days. He's in the same class as Seokju, and the chairman has allowed him to participate in their program to learn about their field. One of the men raises his hand and asks if Jin is the one who handled the kidnapping situation with Seokju. The senior confirms that he is indeed the same person. Jin introduces himself and thanks everyone for letting him participate. As the students begin their training, we see Yeona standing above, observing our boy. Seokju reveals to her that our boy is here because he wanted to experience what it's like to be a bodyguard, or at least that is what Jin told him. Meanwhile, the guards are running down the halls, engaged in their training. As Yeona watches our boy, she also notices someone else in the hall, and it's Jie along with her guard. Yeona curiously wonders what she is doing there. Meanwhile, Jin is running across the hall with the other soldiers. The senior leading the pack takes a quick look back and sees that Jin is keeping up well, so he decides to pick up the pace, running even more intensely. After several rounds, all the soldiers are completely out of breath, and the senior looks utterly exhausted, as if he might faint any moment. Jin, however, looks as if nothing has happened, taking just a simple, casual breath. The senior reveals to us that they've run enough to make anyone faint, but Jin kept up the whole time and even looks like he could handle 20 more laps. They move on to other intense exercises, and Jin excels at those as well. From the sidelines, Yeona is absolutely blown away by how Jin outperforms everyone, leaving them struggling to keep up. Meanwhile, Jie just sneers, saying it's just basic training, and still Team 2 is falling way behind this kid. As our boy stands there, the senior is wondering where in the hell they found this kid. He's questioning if he's been trained somewhere before because he's just too good. Then the senior notices Jie standing nearby, and his face goes pale as soon as he makes eye contact with her bodyguard. He realizes he's going to catch flack from Jie and her bodyguard later for falling behind compared to a high schooler. Suddenly, one of the juniors raises his hand and points out that he's heard this student played a critical role in Miss Yona's rescue, so he wants to test the kid's skills himself. The senior gets angry and asks if he really wants to spar with a high school kid, yelling at his junior for being out of his mind. But the senior finds himself completely blown away when the kid himself volunteers to fight and says he doesn't really mind. The senior, completely at a loss for words, scratches his head in frustration and reluctantly agrees. He tells his juniors to get the protective gear for our boy. Before long, our boy is decked out in his gear, and the other guy facing him gets suited up too. Yona wonders if this will be okay, and Seokju points out that it's hard to say, given how tough the other guys are. Even Jai thinks it would be pretty hilarious if this high school kid actually won. She mentions she's heard the kid has extraordinary fighting skills, but her bodyguard assures her that he's still no match for his men, because these guys have been highly trained in all sorts of combat, long before they started working at SW. The senior tells both of them to just take it easy, especially telling his junior to go a bit easy on the kid, and the junior agrees. The senior then tells them to get ready, so the junior takes his stance and reminds our boy that he's not against those chumps he has beaten before, so he better be careful. Our boy doesn't even flinch at the jab and simply takes his own stance. As soon as the senior signals the start of the fight, the junior lunges at our boy with an incredible burst of speed and swings a punch right at his face. But our boy quickly steps back. The junior swings again with full force, but Jin dodges effortlessly once more. Yona, growing anxious, points out that the soldier wasn't supposed to go that hard during a sparring match. But the soldier, however, keeps coming at Jin, swinging his fists left and right. Jin continues to dodge every attack effortlessly. Then, Jin quickly kicks the junior's leg, causing him to stagger. Seizing the moment, our boy balls up his fist and throws a brutal punch. But the soldier quickly raises his hands to block, avoiding a direct hit. The fatty mocks our boy for his futile attack and gets ready to hit him with a punch of his own. But Jin quickly deflects the incoming fist and counters with a brutal blow right to the bastard's face. That display of power leaves Yona breathless, and even her guard finds it pretty impressive that Jin struck precisely where the fatty's face was exposed. As the fatty writhes in pain, Jin grabs him by the head and delivers a vicious knee smash to his face, leaving him bloody and beginning to collapse to the ground. Jie is absolutely blown away by what just happened, while Jin stands there as the clear winner, with his opponent slumped unconscious on the ground. He removes the protective gear from his head, and both the senior and the other soldiers are stunned by the turn of events. Seokju notes that they were clearly instructed to take it easy, but this was just too intense. Jie speaks up again, questioning if this kid is really the 19-year-old they claimed he was. Meanwhile, her bodyguard is fuming at the top of his head, as Team 2 is part of his crew, and he is not at all happy to see one of his soldiers going down like flies after being beaten by a teenager.